We have this from the Post Millennial. Let's see. Oh, no, wait, not this one. Where's the, here we go. Border Patrol agents say there will be an exodus if Kamala Harris wins. Quote, I'm not doing this ish again, one agent said. 4 more years of hell.
Good God.
This is exactly what Kamala Harris wants to hear, though. Look at that. Look at that face. She's excited. She's excited for this. Look, they are the ones who ended Remain in Mexico. 90 executive orders were overturned. Was it 90, I believe? At the start of the administration that allowed the border to explode. To hear this, Kamala and Joe are high-fiving. This is what they're hoping for, because it gives them an excuse. It's not our fault. They all resigned.
I feel for these guys, too. Just the things, the human tragedy that these guys have seen over the last 4 years. I mean, I saw a figure the other day, something close, almost 400,000 unaccompanied minors have crossed the border, many of whom have been lost, many of whom are being used in sex trafficking and forced labor. That's almost as many slaves as we brought into North America during the entirety of the slave trade. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
In just 4 years. And these border agents have been the last line of defense, having to deal with all this, having all their tools taken from them, seeing dead kids and dead women in the desert. I can't imagine the toll that must take on a guy trying to do his job. I wouldn't want to do it for 4 more years either.
No, I think it's wonderful that they're speaking up for themselves. They're
Yeah.
saying we will not be treated this way. I think it's great that they are saying we cannot do another 4 years of being blamed for all of this. I mean, that's what I really felt like. I mean, and really, if the Biden administration wanted to get serious, which they obviously never did, they would have removed Alejandro Mayorkas because he really was terrible at his job and also betrayed the agents. I mean, I don't remember, if you remember the scandal with like the theoretically
Horsewhips, yeah.
Horsewhips, which the photographer who took the photo of the agent and the migrant was like, no, they weren't whipping them. Like, that's not what's happening at all. And meanwhile, Mayorkas had already gone to Congress and condemned the agents. I mean, the Biden administration, you can, obviously I don't agree with their policy on it, but they also treated the agents who are in a position where they are trying to do very difficult things with no resources and no support, were constantly thrown under the bus by the federal government. And I loved when they endorsed, I think it was their executive council endorsed Donald Trump. I love that they are saying we are not going to stand around for this. Obviously, there's a question of national security. Yeah. Not so good for us if there's a amount of addicts. On the other hand, good, advocate for yourself, because the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration has totally treated you with disregard, and I would think with malice, really.
Mayorkas is a sinister character. He's a sinister character.
Well, one of the things that made me so angry about that hoax was, even if it was true, you've got literal millions of people pouring over the border right now, children being sex trafficked across our border, fentanyl coming across our border and killing our citizens, and you're concerned that Border Patrol agents might have been mean to people illegally entering our country? Mm-hmm. That's what we're supposed to be up in arms about? That's what gets national news coverage? Who cares?
Did you see that?
Who cares? Somebody needs to solve this problem before we start policing whether we're solving this problem in the nicest possible way that ensures nobody has their feelings hurt when they're trying to disrespect the laws of our country.
But then they would have had to agree that it was a problem, and the Biden-Harris administration tried for as long as they could to say it wasn't a problem at all.
Did you guys see the meme from J.D. Vance?
I did. I thought that was brilliant.
Millionaire, and it's what's it, Martha Raddatz? And the question is the acceptable number of apartment complexes taken over by illegal alien Venezuelan gangs. And it's A, a handful, B, 3, C, a bushel, or D, 0. And the correct answer was A, a handful. And then it's J.D. Vance making that face from the debate.
What a great meme, that face.
I just really want to say, in response to that, those apartment buildings being taken over, when you have literal Venezuelan gangs who have illegally entered into our country and are starting to conquer apartment complexes, I just want everyone to know that I sleep very soundly at night knowing no Border Patrol agents are hitting illegals entering into our country with ropes, because that would just break my heart. That would be a national issue that we would have to have a national dialogue over.
But let's break this down. That story was also, as I mentioned, Democrats are children. They saw an image of reins flailing in the wind, and they went, those are whips.
Yes, dude, well, think about it. She said that was only a handful of buildings. When we saw a literal, 2 or 3 migrants supposedly being whipped, even when they were not, and it turned out to be a lie, it was like, if this happens to one single person, we as a country stand condemned of living up to our moral duty. But then when we allow Venezuelan gangs to take over multiple apartment buildings in Colorado, it's just a handful. Who cares?
It's okay when it happens to Americans.
And there was a worker who was mercilessly beaten. And there are photos that are so graphic we can't show them. But that person's life doesn't matter to these corporate journalists.
The Babylon Bee covered this story.
They're not journalists.
with a headline, ABC News argues 9/11 was overblown as it was only a handful of buildings.
No, but it's literally that level of argumentation.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. That's why I say it's a death cult. They don't want you to have kids. If you want to have kids, you're a fascist. They celebrate death and destruction, and they defend things that cause chaos. And I got to be honest, guys. Look, I know not everybody out there watching is religious or anything. I don't consider myself Christian, but boy, does it feel demonic. It feels as though these people have become possessed by some malevolent force, because how do you get angry when law enforcement is trying to stop people from literally breaking the law, illegally entering the country? You defend criminal gangs that are threatening and mercilessly beating innocent people. You defend them. And now we know Tren de Aragua's taken over. They're taking over Times Square, and they've taken over 4 complexes in San Antonio. 1 was raided by cops. 3 more have yet to be raided.
And those fascist cops got away with raiding that building?
How is
Horrible.
it that Democrat politicians and these liberals are always on the side of whatever is destroying and hurting innocent people?
I have a theory about that. I think that they have debauched themselves into such a callous state of spiritual ugliness that anytime they see anything that reminds them that there's anything in the world besides their own hideousness, it upsets them, and they want to see it harmed.
Well, you said demonic. It is. It's Luciferian. It's the Paradise Lost. The Satan character says it's better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven, and that's kind of their mentality. They'd rather have power and rule over the ashes and the chaos than to serve in a place of order and heaven. So,
well, hyperpolarization. More and more people just want to be on a team. But when I look at the right now, whatever you want to call it, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump, this is not your traditional right-wing conservative group. RFK, I wouldn't call it conservative. Tulsi Gabbard especially not.
No, I wouldn't even call Trump a conservative on many issues.
No.
He's very moderate.
He's a 90s Democrat.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you have the Democratic Party, which don't represent any real ideology other than chaos.
Yep.
It's the Joker.
Well, and this is what you're saying about how people just want to be on a team. It's true. I mean, the country is certainly becoming more and more polarized. I personally would like to belong on the team that sees American apartment buildings being taken over by third world gangs and says that's not good.
I
I want to be on the team that says that's actually bad and we should be horrified.
What did Pelosi say when California was trying to give $150,000 to illegal immigrants to buy houses? We're going to give them the American dream.
They're going to take it from you first.
And that means Gen Z will be left holding an empty bag. That's wild, dude. I can't believe... No, I can believe it for sure, but Gen Z, if they're... I don't know how many of them are going to vote for Kamala Harris, but boy, talk about burning yourself to the ground.
Gen Z, I feel, is kind of weirdly based. They grew up under wokeism. They grew up being taught that white people are terrible. That and so there's something happening with Gen Z that it'll be interesting to see what happens when they come of voting age, I think.
Yeah, I'm hoping that a good portion of them are just going to be based. I know that Gen Z guys are actually leaning based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I say based because they're not necessarily conservative. They're just anti-establishment, anti-uniparty, and they're looking for anything that's different because, as I mentioned, they're giving away the American dream that belongs to the next generation. They're giving it to non-citizens.
And Kamala uniting with Dick Cheney, what is more uniparty than that? I mean, I've never seen a race that's more evidently the people versus the machine.
Right.
I mean, it's not ideological really on either side. It's just the people versus this uniparty machine.
It is amazing that Trump's bipartisan is incorporating 2 former Democrats who the party really rejected, Tulsi and RFK. And in response, the DNC and the Harris campaign are like, well, we're going to bring you the most establishment Republicans we can find. That most, especially with Liz Cheney, who was ousted by a different Republican challenger. I mean, these are Republicans have rejected because the party changed under Trump. I do want to ask, though, especially since you have younger children, do you think Gen Z is likely to be more polarized? Like, even if half are more conservative, they're this new energy, are the other half sort of too progressive to be recalled back to sanity?
Yeah, it's possible. Well, because the other half is kind of all mentally ill and on drugs. Like that's
crazy.
That's the other thing that that is kind of the wild card in this whole situation is so many kids are medicated now. Mentally ill.
I saw a crazy meme where a person said that they were feeling depressed and unmotivated. They went to a therapist, and the therapist offered them SSRIs, and they immediately snapped back all the complications, all the news stories, to which the doctor says, "You are correct. You're very smart," and then threw away the prescription. Like, and then it's a meme. I don't know if it's real, but they were just like, why would they even try to prescribe that if they knew that stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's a medical solution to a spiritual problem, ultimately.
I completely agree with you. And people are suffering from many mental health issues because they're just not living as man is meant to live. They're doing horrible, disgusting things, and they feel guilt about it, and they try to repress the guilt, and it ends up manifesting as depression or anxiety, or they're allowing themselves to be used, or whatever it is. But if you actually look at the Pew Research data we have on this, liberal women between the ages of 18 and 29 are majority mentally ill. 56% of them have been diagnosed with a mental health condition. People on the left...
Women are crazy?
Liberal women, specifically. But liberal women, it's true, liberal women, and the reality is liberal men are significantly more likely than conservative men to be diagnosed with mental health issues. And
because liberalism gives you a broken worldview that you can't maintain.
Exactly. And so what I find to be one of the most hilarious ironies of modern political history is that given how mentally ill the left is, literally by the actual data, which shows they're significantly more likely to be mentally ill, we can only conclude that it was Reagan shutting down the mental institutions that made the modern left possible. If we still had mental institutions,
all the time, dude.
If we still had mental institutions and we still locked the craziest people up instead of telling them there's nothing wrong with you, you're fine, why don't you actually shape the political discourse
or teach
and
public
completely restructure our understanding of what the differences between men and women are, or other such understandings we've had for all of history until, we deregulated the asylums, and all of a sudden a bunch of people started saying it's not crazy to dress up as a woman when you're a man or think that you're non-binary. And now what ends up happening is you have a lot of people who wouldn't ordinarily suffer with that kind of psychological pathology, but because of social contagion, they're doing it. So you have people who in the past would have been a normal, mentally healthy person who say, I'm non-binary. And it's like, well, no, you just want attention. If you actually thought you were non-binary, you would be severely mentally ill.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.